Margarine, artificial butter. For our health, the quality of the oily or fat substances in the nourishment is very important. Natural medicine uses exclusively oils obtained through cold pressing or butter. Animal fat, margarine, or refined oils are excluded. The fat substances in nourishment are the main substances that help build and support the body. First of all, they cannot be dissolved in water. Therefore, they are more stable than sugar and proteins. That's why it's important to pay attention to the substances that day by day build our physical bodies. If our body does not recognize these substances, and if they are not similar to the structures that sustain life, the consequence is a compromise. The replacement of normal cellular structures with abnormal structures that lead to degradation and illness. But let's see why margarine is not healthy. What kind of fat does it contain? You'll find out that margarine contains more than 50% lipids with fat acids that have the molecule in the trans configuration. Cheese fat acids and trans fat acids. It is a well-known fact that the fat acids are essential for a normal working and sustaining of the cells. The cell's membrane is made up of fat acids and proteins. It allows the transportation of the necessary substances into and outside of the cells. A healthy cell membrane does not allow the harmful chemicals, bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites to enter the cell. Such membranes have also chemical receptors for hormones. The fat acids are involved in many chemical processes inside our body. The essential fat acids cannot be synthesized in our body and therefore have to be obtained through nourishment. Natural fat acids have double links with a certain configuration called by the biochemist the cis configuration. In the case of the cis configuration, the molecules are linked in such a way that the two atoms of hydrogen are on the same side of the double link. This means that the link between the molecules is weaker and as a result the melting point gets lower. This is the form of the molecule of the oleic acid, the fat acid that is found in the largest quantity in the vegetable oils. And this is the form of the oleic acid in the trans configuration. But in the stores, the fat substances are found in solid form at room temperature. These have double trans links or are fat with saturated links. Because trans links cannot be found in nature, the human body doesn't know how to transform them and they act as poison in most of the cellular reactions. The body tries to alter them as if they were cis molecules, but they pass through the cellular membranes and reach places they shouldn't. Lately, the analysis of the trans fats from the membrane of the erythrocytes in the human body showed a 20% value, while this value ought to be 0. Therefore, one can only assume that the membrane of other cells in the human body also contain these unnatural fats. The trans acids in the cellular membranes weaken the structure and the membrane's function of protection. This alters the natural transportation of minerals and other nutrients through the membrane and allows the pathogenic microorganisms and toxic chemicals to enter the cells easier. The result consists in weakened and ill cells, an abnormal functioning of the bodily organs, and the weakening of the immunity system. In short, low resistance and a higher risk of becoming ill. Nevertheless, in 1994, the American Association of Cardiology specifies, I quote, "Because of its rich content of saturated fat and cholesterol, the butter is a high-risk nutriment. On the contrary, most of the types of margarine are obtained from vegetable oils and do not contain cholesterol at all. For these reasons, margarine remains a substitute to be desired for butter, and the types of margarine with a softer consistence are better than the hard ones." End of quote. This is the opinion of the experts in cardiology. But let's see how margarine is produced. Because it has in its structure, due to the fabrication process, substances with a high level of toxicity, among which we can mention nickel, but also some products that degrade fat, In time, margarine can cause or facilitate the oncoming of such extremely dangerous diseases like cancer, according to Professor Dr. Bellman in The Biological Cause and Treatment of Cancer. Here is the recipe for producing margarine. Adding hydrogen atoms to the molecule of fat in order to make them more saturated produces margarine. In the beginning, refined oil is mixed with a fine powder of nickel. It is heated at 260 degrees and it is stirred and treated with industrial hydrogen. As the fat melting point gets higher, it becomes solid at room temperature. After 8 to 20 hours, the hydrogen is fixed on the atoms of carbon that are not saturated. The process causes more than half the cis links to be transformed into trans links. The oil solidifies, but it preserves traces of nickel, which is a heavy metal and just as dangerous to the body as lead. Finally, the nickel, which, as it is a catalytic substance, does not interfere with the reaction, purifies the margarine. Then it is extracted, but not completely. The quantity that remains is still over the toxic limit. Then the famous E's are inserted: starch, taste alterers, preservatives, and artificial flavors. Hydrogenation has become popular because this type of hydrogenated oil does not alter or become rancid as quickly as normal oil, and therefore it can be kept for a longer period of time on the store shelves. One can leave outside a cube of margarine a really long time and it will not be attacked by mold, insects, or mice because margarine is not food. It seems that only man is unconscious enough to consume it. Because the fat substances in margarine are partially hydrogenated, the margarine is not totally saturated and the manufacturers can call it unsaturated and can sell it to us as healthy food. Many other chemical substances based on fat are created when the oils are partially hydrogenated. In his work Fat That Cure, Fat That Kill, Udo Erasmus showed that so many differently composed products appear during partial hydrogenation that they surpass our imagination. It is not necessary to mention that the industry hesitates in financing or publishing studies about the different types of chemical substances that are produced and their effect on our health. Do you wonder why the refined oils are not healthy? Because the process of oil refinement destroys the essential fat acids and the important natural constituents and also the minerals and the vitamin E. Seeds that can contain high levels of insecticides and pesticides are squashed and forced to a series of chemical treatments at high temperatures. These treatments include the use of toxic solvents, sodium hydrate, and preservatives that result in the destruction of essential fat acids, loss of vitamins and minerals, and the forming of trans fat acids and free radicals. This is exactly the opposite to what we strain to achieve, and it is all made in the name of preserving the food as long as possible on the store shelves. Another effect of hydrogenation is that the final product, margarine, remains a residue of toxic metals, usually nickel and aluminum. These are used as catalyzers in reaction, but they end up amassed in the cells of the body and in the nervous cells where they poison the system's enzymes and modify the functions of cells, endangering health and causing a great variety of problems. These toxic metals are difficult to eliminate without a special set of detoxification methods, while the toxic charge is constantly getting higher in time. As these metals can be found more and more in the air, food and water, the doses in the human body can reach in time high risk levels. Margarine and cardiovascular diseases. The trans fat can also affect the normal mechanism of cholesterol eradication. Normally, the liver eliminates the cholesterol excess through the bile. The trans fat block the normal conversion of fat in the liver and determine the rise of the level of cholesterol in the blood. Normally, the liver eliminates the cholesterol excess through the bile. The trans fat block the normal conversion of fat in the liver and determine the rise of level of cholesterol in the blood. They also cause the rise of the quantity of low-density lipoprotein in the blood, LDL, considered as one of the main factors that determine cardiovascular diseases. At the same time, the trans fat reduces the quantity of high-density lipoprotein, HDL, which protects the cardiovascular system from the adverse effect of low-density lipoprotein. Trans fat also raises the level of apolipoprotein A, a substance in the blood that is another risk factor for heart diseases. Indeed, it was shown that the trans fat cause even more serious problems than the saturated animal fat like lard, bacon, and fat meat. Margarine and the inflammatory diseases. Another adverse effect of the trans fat in nutrition is the increase of pro-inflammation hormones in the body, prostaglandin E, and the inhibition of the anti-inflammatory hormones prostaglandin E1 and E3. This unwanted influence exercised by the trans fat over the balance of prostaglandins can make us more vulnerable to inflammatory states, which, due to this influence, are cured very difficult. Prostaglandins also regulate many metabolic functions. Small quantities can determine important changes in allergic reactions, blood pressure, coagulation at cholesterol level, hormonal activity, immunitary functions, and can be the answer to inflammatory states. Butter is a natural product obtained from uncooked milk, and therefore it contains many enzymes, minerals, vitamins, and microelements, and its lipids are not degraded in the cis form and thus comparable to the bodily necessities. Clarified butter or melted butter is the ideal way to prepare the body both for a better storage and for preparing the plant remedies, creams and ointments used internally for the traditional methods of the Ayurvedic system of medicine. The clarified butter is very healthy as it is a pure food. It is also extremely nourishing. It is an excellent appetite stimulant and gives a good taste to food. It helps digestion because it stimulates the secretion of digestive fluids. It increases intelligence and memory. Consumed with warm milk, it eliminates constipation. Associated with different herbs, the clarified butter transports their curative properties towards the tissues. The uses of clarified butter. In the Indian traditional medicine, clarified butter is largely used as a medicine. Especially combined with licorice and sweet calamus, it is efficient in diseases as deficiency of the nervous system or mental diseases, epilepsy, headaches, ear and nose diseases, burns and facial paralysis, sterility in women, skin diseases, diarrhea, dysentery, debility, rejuvenation, and also in purification therapies. It improves chronic fever, anemia, afflictions of the blood, and it is useful in detoxification. It rushes the process of healing of the wounds, and it improves peptic ulcer and colic. In diabetes, it is recommended mixed with licorice. Due to its content of high-density lipoproteins, HDL, essential fat acids, and polysaturated fat acids and polyunsaturated fat acids, the clarified butter protects the cardiovascular system. How can we prepare clarified butter? Half a kilogram of butter with 80% fat is heated on a mild fire for 15 minutes. After it starts to boil, it can be left for another 15 to 20 minutes. During boiling, the foam will lift at the surface. It can be removed. The butter will turn gold and it will smell of popcorn. It is ready when its muddy aspect will change into clean. If water is being poured in, it will begin to pop, signal that the temperature is higher than 100 degrees. If we use butter with 55% fat, it is possible that it contains water. It is left to cool until the water separates from the butter. It can be prepared together with herbs for internal treatment, and externally, it is the ideal base substance for creams and ointments made of plants and volatile oils. It doesn't necessarily have to be kept in the fridge because it can be preserved for a longer period of time without alteration.